Hello there, and welcome to my channel. I'm Chase Moser, and this is Moser Movie Reviews. Today, I'm going to be going over the legendary installment of the Tremors franchise, the fourth one. So this one is the prequel that takes place in like the 1800s. I actually really appreciate this one. It was not my favorite growing up until I started watching it with my grandpa, and it ended up being one of his favorites. And so because of that, we ended up watching it a lot, and I really grew to love it. And I just watched it again, and I still really love it even more, but I do think that maybe it might have shifted in my ranking a bit. Well, I do still like the, old aspect. It can be something that holds it back too. With all of that being said, let's get right into Tremors 4, The Legend Begins. What better way than to start off this movie with a horrifying attack in a gold mine with a bunch of miners digging in the soil and in the dirt, making a bunch of different noise. Oh yeah, underground, soil, dirt, noise. That's a perfect combination for all of these monsters to attack, so it's no wonder why this is the perfect opening scene. And they hold back with the monsters just enough for it to be scary. You don't know it at this time, but these are actually the really small graboids. They're babies because they've just hatched from the eggs. So this one is a couple years after the third movie, and a lot of people don't know about the TV series, but it is also still in the same continuity as that. Actually, the ending of the TV series kind of hints at where the fourth prequel might go because they all talk about the mines and stuff. But it was really smart kind of taking it back to its original roots, making it scary, making it simple, kind of leaving out the other things that made the franchise have aspects that people didn't take serious, the things they thought that were silly, like the Shriekers and the Ash Blasters. So it's straight up back to the graboids, and having Burt Gummer's relative grandfather be in this is super smart, and having Michael Gross play that is also super smart. And they play this off really well. The time period works well. I definitely think that now that I'm thinking about this movie, it's really interesting. I have no idea how I'm going to rank these films because a lot of them are so tied for me. So it's super interesting. I'll have to come up with something pretty special for this. But I just love all of the Western aspects, and I think that it's cool whenever you finally get into seeing the graboid attacks for the first time, that they are small and you kind of get to see them come out of the egg. And so they do still build upon the evolution of the third chapter and give you that storyline and wrap it around and give it full circle, full loop. So this is the first time in the franchise where we are really seeing them hatch from the eggs, and they're still a threat even when they're younger, and then they later grow up to be the monsters that we know at the finale of this movie and also in Tremors 1. So it also just shows you that this town has a history of having this happen, and that is so interesting as well that it's a specific place. And when you learn in the second one that this is the oldest living creature on the planet and all of the continents used to be connected, it's a wonder where any of these eggs could have ended up and where any of them might be laying dormant on this earth. I just love the simple aspects of like the whole, the town going under, not enough gold, the Chang's Market here again is super familiar for us. Of course, we're gonna love that. The whole hotel and everything, the town is set up really well. The little lessons, the characters, they're all so perfect. You really get to live in their world. It's so immersive again, and it's really story heavy, and I'm not mad at it for that. It's almost worth it, kind of sacrificing some of the action to have some of the emotion. And I think that it's super cool whenever they start to hire a gunsman and this Black Hand Kelly comes in. He was so interesting, and still to this day one of my favorite parts of this movie. He's so cunning and sly and smart, and he really, gruffs people up and gives them their guts and kicks them in the ass and tells them what they're supposed to do. And he inspires them, not because he's like a really nice guy, because he's like, it's the wild fucking West, bitch, you better get your shit together or you're gonna get your ass kicked. And that is how it is, and they're so smart the way that they use him to interact with the other characters. And I just love how they discover the sound and the meaning, and how they're locked up in that one barn scene and they're pulling away floorboard by floorboard, and realizing the battle and the strength of these worms that they're up against. And I couldn't believe that Black Hand Kelly got bested by the worms so fast. That just shows you how surprising and shocking they are, and it's really at a whim. It doesn't mean that anybody else is better than that or not, or that Black Hand Kelly wasn't as dangerous as he was set up to be. It's to show you the threat of how serious the worms are, that anything could happen at any moment. And I appreciated him teaching, you know, Bert's character, his you know, whoever Mr. Gummer's ancestor, how to shoot the guns, and it was so perfect. I keep saying that on purpose because of the Perfection Valley, which is actually called Rejection in this incarnation. It was so shocking and suspenseful, and I think they needed to do that, honestly, to capture the attention and make the other characters step up to deal with the threat that's happening, because they have no other choice now. It really pushes them to the brink and to the test, and I enjoy watching that because they're very limited in the world, in their weapons and their options, and this is early America, and it's just kind of fun to see people in this time period. We don't know what that's like, and it's so far removed from us, but it's only so far removed by just a finger touch. It's just right there, you know? It's so easy to dive into that and to believe it and to place yourself there if you just have a second of creativity. Another one of my favorite shots is whenever they're like driving home and that like the graboids following them and you see it like through the dried up river. I think it's smart how they get a plan to go after the worms, but obviously there's character arcs, and his instinct is to flee. He doesn't want the town, give up the mine, all of the stuff, and they realize they need to band together, and he comes back with like some of the biggest guns. He realizes they're in trouble and that he cares for them. He went from being this person who was all about money and all about wealth and only went there because he was sad and upset that his cushy lifestyle stopped because his assets stopped, and he was taking advantage of those people and didn't care about them, and he was there for so many months that he learned to love them and learned to be there, learned to have a community and what life is like, and waking up on planet Earth every single day with just the sun rising, and he established that with them. And so to go back and fight with them is so interesting and heartwarming, and you see all of the things that are possible, especially the different ways that they are able to attack and go after the graboids. I think there's a lot of creative and interesting kills, especially with like, specifically the one where it runs into the saw and like splits itself. And also anytime that you can see the graboids popping up out of the ground, I love, because that's the magic of the practical effects again, and it's the worm that we want to see, and it was kind of missing in that third chapter. And it is in Tremors 3 several times, and it could have been in there more. They just put CGI over it a couple of times. But it's still really fun, and it's so hard watching these people struggle, and there's so many classic moments of the Tremors franchise, so many great gimmicks of like the snake tongues and the sounds and the silent effects, and just people running and chasing and climbing and hiding, and the guns and the going after and being outsmarted and stepping it up and being outwitted, and every single moment you're increasing. It definitely has a statement and an importance in this franchise. I think that it establishes itself very well. It's very necessary, and especially now that we have so many installments into the Tremors franchise, it's absolutely necessary. It's a great film. I'm really glad that it exists, actually, and I will defend its existence. And my grandpa just loves that time period too, so it's fun for him to watch. And maybe this is all nostalgia, but it's still a cool story to tell, and like I said, all the best stories loop, and it definitely gives you more and moves the characters forward. And by characters, I guess I mean the graboids. It gives you more understanding about them. This franchise pretty much is about them and Bird. So yeah, that's what it is. I really cared about the characters, like I said earlier, and their resolutions at the end of the film are nice. I like how the one guy gets to have a ranch, which is most likely going to lead to Miguel in the future. I love how the store operators get to have their store, 4 walls. I like how everything turns out, and it was so chilling, especially in the beginning, hearing them speak about how, the cave was so, mysterious, and that's definitely a place that you learn about the graboid creatures, is they reside in dark subterranean places, especially in caves. It's a easy way to move around. And when they were questioning him and they said, "What did you see?" And he said, "Well, I saw nothing." But it was that very nothing that I saw that was scarier than anything I actually had ever seen in my entire life. I just remember that line being so chilling and gripping and powerful for me. And it was a really fun experience to be able to see where these characters start off, their relationships with each other, and where they end up. And I think that if there was going to be the end of a franchise, it definitely is fun to end here, but I'm really glad that it expands more because there's definitely more lore to tell. And I know for a fact that it is controversial. You know, some people really love it, some people really hate it. I hear some people say it's their favorite, some people say it's boring. I have had a hard time figuring out where it lays with me my whole life too, but it has, like I said, some of the great classic Tremor moments, and it adds to the story. So what's not to love about it, especially if you have a couple hours to kill and you haven't seen it as much as the other ones. Michael Gross is such a strong actor, and it was really smart to bring him back for this. I know that I've said that earlier, but to touch upon that a little bit more, he had such a big hand in this. He knows the characters so well. He would make revisions on the scripts, and they would write things, and he'd be like, "Oh, there's no way that would ever be said." And I appreciate his hand and his help into this integral storytelling, and I like that he's taking it serious, and I like seeing where his family lines tie. You know, we end up going from this person to Bert, and then later in the other installments you go down Bert's family line a little bit more, and it all kind of tells a collective story, and that's so cool for me to be able to watch as a fan of the franchise, because it is everything I've ever wanted to see. And when you've been following it forever, you want to be entertained, you want to have something new, and you want to watch someone like Michael Gross be a powerhouse. You want to see him steal a scene, and I could watch him just do this over and over again. He's so good at it, and that's what's enticing, that's what's thrilling, and that's what keeps you coming back, and it's why that has standed for so long and has had so many installments and has become a cult classic over all of these years. The time period makes it fun. I think that there were some of the kills in this that were the best, like especially like the old Fred callback. That was one of the scariest moments for me growing up. I remember whenever I was having it on DVD, if ever I was watching it at nighttime to fall asleep, I would cringe and get scared at that part. I couldn't look at it, I couldn't watch it. The head really scared me. There's a lot of good parts in this film that are underrated, just like how the third one is. I think this whole franchise is underrated. So I am always going to back it up, and I'm never going to regret it. Having Bert have all of the joy that he does at the end, well, and I keep saying Bert, but not Bert. Having him have the joy at the end with that little rotary gun is such a perfect send-off, and having him end with that smile, I could just watch that over and over and over again. So with all of that being said, those are my thoughts. I hope that you enjoyed listening to them. Let me know what you think. Where does this stand for you, and how do you feel about the time period, and whether or not a prequel works in this franchise, and could they even do another one? I'm just now thinking about that right now. And would you ever encourage it to be, right before this, or like even earlier than this? Just let me know all of that good stuff. It would be really fun maybe to kind of see like a 1600s Tremors around like witch era times. Oh my god, that would actually be really cool. Shut the fuck up, wait a minute. Anyway, yeah, let me know all that good stuff down in the comments. I can't wait to go over the rest, and let me know how you feel about Bert portraying a different character in this. Make sure to check out some of my other videos. I've done a bunch of different genres. I do live streams and sometimes with my friends. Also check out my community tab, because I post a bunch of different, questions and polls. It's sometimes the best way to interact with me. And I guess I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!